Right, members, at the last meeting, I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, I made mention of a village design statement. I actually asked for 2 items to go on the agenda tonight that I wanted to speak about. One has been carried forward, one hasn't, but I'm going to mention both now, okay? So, village design statement. If you Google village design statement, Sedgemoor, anyone can do it. Brent Knoll is conspicuous by its absence. So many villages within Sedgemoor's district has its own village design statement. I cannot understand why Brent Knoll doesn't, other than the fact we haven't done it. I think if there's a lesson from what happened at the decision taken by this parish council and what's needed here, is we desperately need one. It will help formulate what's acceptable in the village. Critically, Sedgemoor has to have due regard to it. Legally they do. Okay? I think it's absolutely vital we get one. It will avoid delegated decisions without taking into account interests and objectives. Sedgemoor have to take account of any village design statements. It's on the agenda tonight. I would hope you all agree that we need one here. It has to have parish council involvement, but also members of the community to help inform that process. Okay? And hopefully, to avoid the kind of situation that we were in, was it 2 meetings ago?
Can I ask Bob a question here?
Yeah.
Just a minute. The fact that we looked at a site which was P4, would that necessarily have come or been addressed within a village design statement?
There's sort of two elements to it. You've got the village design statement was something that's been around for some time. Primarily, as Mr. Martin said, it's looking at character and design of the village. So you highlight features that you've got to make sure that any development that comes forward should be. It gives guidelines in effect to a developer coming in as to what they should be aiming to do. It's not a. The village design statements have moved on slightly in that the problem with them to some extent was they weren't statutory documents, but they could be adopted by the district council, and that's what Sedgemoor's done with all the village design statements we've got anyway. So they are supplementary planning documents to the local plan, which means they do have to be taken into account. What it doesn't do is rule anything out, because in effect development should comply with a design statement, but like any other planning application, when it's decided, all the facts have to be taken into account. So the design statement is an important part of that, but it has to be weighed against all the other bits of information as well. So it is important, but it's not a definite game stopper depending on what is in there. What the government then moved on with the localism bill was they then went on to neighbourhood plans, which are a statutory document, which whether the district council likes them or not, in effect, they have to be taken into account as part of the process without being formally adopted. That's part of the detail. They go into a bit more detail. They normally deal with things like allocation of land, and that's the sort of thing that would come up potentially at the P4 site. Okay. Any neighbourhood plan has to be in conformity with the district council's local plan, so you can't come up with something that's completely out of line with what's already in the local plan. And they are a facility that the government really wanted to encourage more development, not less. So generally the starting point is you can't go for less than the local plan is asking for, but what you can do is if your local authority as a parish felt that you wanted more development, you can start looking to do more development. Both are documents that have an involvement of a parish council but don't have to necessarily be run by the parish council, as Mr. Martin said. They should engage the community. So, for example, in Burnham-on-Sea, the town council isn't actually leading on the plan. There are representatives of the town council on the working group, and then that working group is coming up with a plan which ultimately the town council will have to accept, and then it will go out for a public vote. And at that point, there is a referendum, and you decide whether or not you accept what's been put forward as a plan. So both village design statements and neighbourhood plans add to the remit that the district council has to look at. The information is there, it's in further information that has to be taken into account. What it wouldn't do is it wouldn't rule out a P4 site coming forward, but that P4 site would be aiming to be in conformity in terms of things like the design and layout, which to some extent P4 sites generally, and obviously in this particular instance there was a disagreement about whether things are in conformity or not, but again, generally a P4 site, you have to look at things like design and layout, which obviously was done as part of the process.
Very much so.
Bear in mind we have got the item on the agenda for detailed discussion.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Just clarification.
It was clarification. Thank you, Bob.
I think it's fair to say, Bob, isn't it, that, and I can't quite remember, I think we have discussed the possibility of a village design statement some years ago, and felt that there was actually a need for any major developments in this village. One of the things which has happened, certainly over the last 2 years, there's been a great deal of input from the district council, in consultation with landowners and the parish council, for various developments which perhaps are moving forward now.
Okay. We'll talk about that then.
Those are all valid points. I think the crucial distinction with this is that it involves the community, and it helps if the community has a direct input as to what that design statement should look like. Not led by district council or elected members, the community has an input. That's why it's an important document, and it does run in parallel. That's why I think we need one in the village, and I would hope you would get a lot of engagement, bearing in mind the strength of feeling with the planning application as well.
I admire your optimism,
With
but
regard-
we'll talk about it later. So is there another point you want to raise?
Well, there is, but please don't cut me off like that. That is the reason, if you don't go out and ask, you won't get any engagement, which leads nicely into my next point.
Can I just ask you a question? Did you attend all the consultation processes about the end of the village? Did you come to them? Were you aware, for instance, of the... Are you aware of what the designs of those buildings were to be?
Well, actually,
Just answer the question,
I
please.
will, and actually I'll correct the point that you made at the last meeting when you said nobody objected to the design of the buildings. I actually did, in the consultation that I responded to, and let's be honest, it wasn't consultation.
I don't want to be picky, but when you addressed us last time,
Yes?
you said that the members of the council weren't elected, and that you were wrong there. So let's not beef about that. I'll listen to your... We're very happy to listen.
We, as members of the community, do not elect you.
Pardon?
We don't vote for you, do we?
Yes, you
Yes,
do.
of course you do.
When there's an election, every 4 years.
When there's an
If that's the
election...
case, I'm going to stand corrected.
Thank you.
Right, I will stand corrected on that. This is supposed to be a friendly environment, and I'm trying to help and suggest things. So let's not try and...
Thank you.
Right, but
Thank you.
but
At least
thank
you
for
see where
correcting
we
me.
are coming from.
I do, and I
Thank
stand
you.
corrected on that. In terms of engagement, and I just want to make this point, I think what was evident, there was a huge strength of feeling regarding that planning application. Huge, and I think that was evident from the number of objections which section received as a result of the application. I will say there was a small number for. Now, of course, the decision that was taken by the parish council is supposed to be in respect of what the community wants. You know, you're our elected members, okay? But how do you engage with the community? Other than through the statutory process, you've got notices of agendas which are heard here. The minutes are published, although the summaries are rather brief in Brent Knoll News. So what I was going to go on to say, there are a number of parish councils, a significant number of parish councils, that have engagement policies where they can reach out to the community to help inform their own processes. which I think is 2017, relying on statutory processes isn't always reliable, engaging what the full community wants.
Can you give us examples of the parish councils that do that?
I can help you obtain it.
I would have thought that you would have come properly briefed to tell us that.
No, well,
Can I just say as
I
well,
think if you just Google engagement statements,
Can I just say-
parish councils, you'll find it.
can we just say, and this is the thing that really annoys us,
Yeah,
really does annoy us, every month we have parish surgeries.
yeah,
We put ourselves out
Yeah.
to sit in this room
yeah.
for any member of the
Yeah.
community to come and talk to us. The average attendance in the last year has been 0.
Yeah, I can believe that.
So why do you believe that just because the Fox and Goose calls all that hurrah, why did nobody come to talk to us about the Fox and Goose? Nobody did.
Uh-huh.
And you're saying that we have to go out and publicise it even more than we do.
Not
And I-
publicised. I think
You're
missing
saying to
the point.
engage the community. How do we do it? We're not going to go around knocking on everybody's door and saying, do you want us to vote this way or would you like us to vote that way?
Look, I understand the difficulties you have with
I think it's the
community.
practicalities, it's not difficulties with respect.
Well, there
We are
other
having
forms
to
of
meet legal
communication.
requirements and we are meeting all legal requirements.
I'm not criticising your legal requirements. I'm not suggesting you're not meeting your legal requirements. There are other means of communication. Social media, for example. There's no reason why you couldn't set up a Brent Knoll group where you could try and engage.
We
Tell
do.
people.
We call
What's
it's
going-
called the Brent Knoll Village website.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, please.
So why don't you put comments on that?
Look, I'm just trying to make suggestions and I feel like I'm being attacked
Well,
here.
we feel like we were attacked
Yeah,
the
I'm
other
not
night.
attacking you.
And the one point you have missed
Uh-huh.
is that I don't know how long you've lived in the village. I've lived here
How long do
probably
you think?
about since '99 myself, but a
Uh-huh.
lot of people have lived here many, many years.
Yes.
And the Fox and Goose junction has always been a difficult junction. And please give us credit that we did take that decision with the best intentions. Okay? Just like you to accept that. Whether those intentions in your mind were wrong, we took them as a parish council with the best intentions. And please bear that in mind.
I think I must respond to that. I am not suggesting you haven't. Have I ever suggested that? I'm merely suggesting ways you could improve to gain not only objections, but also people may actually want to say, I actually want traffic lights up there. And you may have got more people replying back to such law saying, I really want traffic lights at the end of Brent Street.
Can I just address some of the points you've made? First of all, you mentioned the development statement. Well, we have got a draft one, which we developed a few years ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got to continue with that. And your comments that you've made, I've read them on the website, on the notes. They'll be investigated, obviously, and looked at. But in my experience, people will always come up with this business of lack of communication when any contentious issues arise. And to me, I've lived in the village for 30 years, and to me the village's responsibility is to find out what's going on through notice boards, the BKN website, contacting any one of us, because we're all pretty approachable, I would have thought. This is a very active village, as you know, but it's only active for some, because the large majority, like many villages, have nothing to do with anything in the village, apart from living in their own house or going to work. And it's only when contentious things arise that they will come up. And at the last meeting, there were people turned up, or a month ago, people turned up, and I've never seen them before, ever, in my life, as far as I know. You mentioned a referendum. We did do a referendum on some things a few years ago. I remember about 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was, and we got 10% response. I'm afraid it was very poor. Parish surgery has been mentioned, poor attendance there, same with parish council meetings. And we, through the clerk, try to, as they've said, try to contact people as many ways as possible. and we're looking for ways of improvement. We had a councillors meeting about 2 years ago in May, nice sunny Saturday morning, well advertised, barely a handful of people turned up. We are having another one in September, following on from one of your comments and so on. That's on September the 16th. It'll be in the Nuttall Room, with refreshments, etc. So people can come along and talk to us about any issue they like. Just one or two other things. The A38 decision, obviously many people came to that. As you know, I voted against it, but it was a democratic decision. It was discussed, it had been discussed at 3 or 4 meetings, it was a decision, and as I look at it, the fact that I lost, but that's the way it is, I'm afraid. I mean, I abhor the Brexit decision, but I've got to live with it. Those are my points.
Well, in any democracy, the vote was carried, and I'm not here talking about the decision that was made.
Right.
I'm talking about, you know, the fact that I'm here is trying to actually work with you, make positive suggestions, because I care
Well, we shall
about
look
the
into
village.
some of the points that you
No,
made.
absolutely. You know, I care about the village.
John, can I
And
just
I
say
want to see
something about
improvement.
social media? You mentioned social media, and I know one or two parish councils do have social media forums.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how they're set up, but whatever. But I also know they've had problems with them as well, because they tend to be, if you're not careful, they can tend to be a forum for people just to sort of throw mud at other people, and that's the problem with social media. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, that's the world we live in. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, various others are with us, you know, they're here to stay. However, they are not without their problems in terms of what they can achieve, in terms of bad blood being created by the sort of people throwing stuff at other people through that media. So I accept what you say. It's one option, but I'm not sure it's the panacea.
I'm saying about the non-attendance of people. I think it's typical of many villages. It's not just Brent Knoll.
No, it's not. And Brian's absolutely right. I mean, it's only the contentious issues which tend to...
But even it was highlighted in my mind that we were still in a contentious situation. We had the annual parish meeting a fortnight ago, and how many of the villagers attended?
Well, you won't get many. Yeah.
And I'm surprised that shows apathy.
Unfortunately, I was on holiday. So
We also had some
I'd rather be on holiday.
We also had interesting talks from Wessex, which is important, and also the affordable housing project,
And the police.
Yeah.
and the police, of course. Yeah.
And, you know, and all these critics we get, none of them.
Well, I haven't come along tonight to criticise the decision.
No, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying other critics,
Yeah.
which we would have expected have come, and some people that have been, shall we say, attacking us in inverted commas, vocal and verbally and in writing, but have never ever shown their faces. And this is what we find quite frustrating and annoying, because as somebody has already said, we were taking those decisions in the best interest of what we perceive to be. Certainly that's the way I viewed that junction.
No, I don't think I actually criticised anybody for the
No,
decision.
I'm not saying you did, I'm just
I
saying it's
agree with
mainly our
it.
situation. And so we find, the thoughts of having to go the extra mile to communicate even further, yes, it's laudable and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, I can't see we're going to gain anything from it.
Well, I would suggest just have a look at, just Google it, and you'll find some surprising results there. It's worth looking at.
Yes, sir.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and we will look at it, and we will discuss further what you say. We have taken, not the fact that we have attacked you, please forgive us, but we're standing up for ourselves in this matter. But yes, we will look at it, and I think the points you've made are very real, and it brings, to our attention that we've got to keep thinking about it. As a council.
When you've got something like that, emotions run very high. I've come back really with positive suggestions as to how we can try and improve. You may not agree with me, which is fine.
No.
That's a democratic process. And I can't believe I've actually got it wrong that you weren't elected, so my apologies about that. So, you know, please take that on board. I just think we can explore other options. And if you look at some of those engagement strategies, there are using other means other than just Brent Knoll use, the statutory planning notices. Because of course, you know, one of the features of Brent Knoll, it's an incredibly long village. The statutory notice at the end there probably isn't going to attract attention from people down the other end of the village, isn't it? And similarly, for the vice versa, for the other planning application which is in the pipeline. It affects the whole village, and certainly traffic lights.
But would you accept our point on the Fox and Goose planning application? We insisted that the developers mailed everyone in the village. We said, if you are going to put this forward, you must tell everyone what your plans are. And everyone, they got the mailing list from Sedgemoor District Council, and they mailed everyone in this. Everyone knew about it.
I'm not suggesting otherwise.
Right.
But
Okay.
I think one of the key things with the consultation from the applicants was how distorting and biased some of those questions were to extract answers that they wanted as part of that consultation process. I mean, it really was very biased.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a consultation that I'm familiar with, and I do a lot of consultations.
No, thank you. It has been useful. And
Just one more point. You made a comment about the inadequacy of stuff in the Brent Knoll rules,
Well,
at one time. I don't know what else. We could put in loads of stuff which would be totally irrelevant to the average person in the street, I think.
it's a difficult balance.
Yeah.
If I read, I brought two along with me, if I read those two summaries, to me it doesn't accurately reflect some of the discussions that were taking place in the meeting.
The summaries are like minutes, basically. They're not intended to be a document of discussion verbatim.
No?
They're just about decisions that have been taken by the council. That's all minutes are meant to be.
Absolutely, but it forms an important point about communication.
I agree, but I think the trouble is with a set of minutes, I've read minutes of organisations, and after I've got through half the first page, I've started yawning, because there's he said, she said, they said, we said, all the minutiae and detail. Parish council minutes are clearly designed to be. Member of the public can look at it and see what decisions were taken on that evening. That's it. They need to know nothing else. What actual decisions did the parish council actually take? And as long as you can get that from the minutes and the notes in the BKN, then really you've got what we set out to achieve.
And at the end of the day, somebody can sit and watch a YouTube video of the whole meeting for 3 hours if they wish. And it's on YouTube every month.
Chair, I tried that. I did lose the will, but it's good.
Exactly.
On principle, I've never watched it.
Well, I don't agree with it anyway, so
we sympathise. Yes, Bob.
Well,
I was only going to say, in terms, one of the points that was also raised by one of the other speakers at the last meeting was that they didn't know when the meeting was, and things like the fact that Brent Knoll News was late, and that meant that they weren't aware. One of the things I've been surprised that not more people have taken advantage of is the fact that the website has the ability for people to register, so that when something new goes on the website, they get told about it. Now, whether that's, the Brent Knoll News, its delivery is down to volunteers.
Yep.
You can get the magazines out to people, you can't force them to go and deliver it on the first day. What we do is we publish online through the website at the same time as we go out to the deliverers. So before the end of the month, it is always online. And if people are logged in, they get notified, they'll know that it's there. And the same thing applies to Owen with your minutes and agendas. They're on the website as well. And again, people can be notified that that's been updated. So there's that ability to have information rather than just rely on the notice boards. But there is an element that people have to want to look for it. And the difficulty is, I think, what sometimes does happen, and obviously the recent case is a case in point, that when something controversial comes up, then obviously the jungle drums will start and people will start telling people to go and have a look at something or go and do something. But most people don't have enough interest in necessarily what is going on all the time to have that go and want to get involved. And I mean, again, we'll come on discussing in the meeting about neighbourhood plans and design statements. I think we may well see what the uptake is from the village in terms of wanting to get involved in something like that. But people have to be willing to get involved and see it through, because part of the time last time was, I think, we started to talk to people. People were very enthusiastic to start with, and when they found out what it involved, they had to get involved and actually do something quite a lot. A lot of the volunteers suddenly disappeared, and it was left with a handful as normal. So I don't think it's through want of trying sometimes that we do try and engage, but you can only engage people if they actually want to engage.
Be engaged.
Back.
And of course the other thing is, for the last 25 years, it's not plus. As far as the parish council is concerned, it's always been a problem to actually get people to stand. Always been a problem. And you normally, if there is a vacancy, it normally comes down to sort of going around saying, look, you know, would you please do it? And I'm sorry, you know, I've been on parish council for nearly 27 years now.
I think the last election we had was about 15 years ago.
We certainly haven't, I've been around 10 years, and we certainly haven't had one to
Yeah.
take in here.
Nobody puts an airport.
We advertised for a vacancy that came up some probably 2 years ago. We had 2 applicants.
And one of those was a lady with dementia.
She
was over the board.
Absolutely, yeah.
So were they voted on or just elected on as nominated?
Sorry?
Were they nominated on?
No, we went through an interview process and we decided who we wanted to. Sorry?
I think that was my point about not having.
Basically, in effect,
Oh,
what happens is every 4 years the council's up for election. So you have to put your name, you have to be nominated, you put your name forward, and then obviously if there are more candidates than there are vacancies, then there is a formal election in the village. If there isn't, then you are elected onto there.
I'm not falling out with any of the points being made about engagements. It is difficult, and I'm as guilty as anybody. You know, reading about grass cuttings in Park Hill or hedges that need to be trimmed back. It's not the most riveting of reads, is it? But it's an important part of village life. You know, people assume these things go on, and it happens because you are making it happen. So I'm very alive to that. It's when something contentious happens, and I think perhaps an engagement statement or some other improved means may actually help you, perversely, actually represent the views of the village. And it's difficult, and it is a difficult balance, and I completely get that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay,
No criticism is meant.
No.
I know you did it in the best interest, and I know it's a democratic process, and I have no criticism, and I hope I haven't come across as implying criticism. That was certainly not intended, and I don't think I actually said that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I shall listen to you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yes.